Hello and welcome to the first ever Your Way Disability SA podcast recording from South Australia. My name is Paul Cook and I'm here with Sally Kwok.
Hello.
And we have worked long enough in the sector to know that people need a voice, and this podcast will offer that voice. The podcast will look at all topics NDIS related, the participants and families, providers and the supports. We will have guests to discuss topics that matter to them and guide you through any changes that you may need to know. On today's podcast, we will be talking about accessible beaches for everyone and the success of last week's Glenelg event. The Minister for NDIS has announced information on using your funding for the COVID rat test, and finally, we're going to be talking everything about Adelaide Fringe, details and local artists. Okay, forget about the red carpet, it was all about the blue carpet on the 21st of January, where Push Mobility, in association with Accessible Beaches and the City of Fast Bay, supported by the Glenelg Surf Life Club, had a fantastic day that allowed people with mobility issues to access the beach. And it was an extremely humbling day for myself and Sally, who were volunteers on the day. The day allowed us to experience some extraordinary events where participants had not been on the beach or accessed the beach for a significant amount of time. We met people who had not been to the beach since they were 7-year-old, and these were adults in their 30s and 40s, which was remarkable for us, not only to be a part of the day and supporting the people that were accessing the beach, but also how we take out, us able-bodied people take for granted. And it was a fantastic day and superbly ran by all the organisers involved. It was very humbling to see so many volunteers from the community supporting the event. And the sad thing is that it's not accessible all the time for people. This was a one-off event in Glenelg, and it really was to showcase how people can access the beach, and Glenelg in particular can be an inclusive area for people with a disability. And I think it was really important that we had this event, and there was a huge amount of media coverage on the day. But it needs to be, for something, it needs to be something regular for people to be able to access. Now, we know that down at Seacliff there is a mat down there, and I don't think there's any mobility equipment to use the beach, but there is certainly the mats to use down there. We know that Henley Beach have had a similar event. There's also access through the Surf Life Saving Club. Sally, so is there any particular day that you can go, or a particular time that anybody can use that equipment and use the mats?
Yeah, according to the Henley Surf Life Saving Club website, it says there's a beach access mat available. They're generally deployed from Thursday through Sunday in public holidays since early December and until the end of summertime. Wheelchair users, they can really go down the beach on the mat, or if they want to go into the water, they can also hire, there are 2 Mobi chairs available from the club, and they can use it if they don't want to get wet and go into the water. There's also 1 beach chair that they can use and enjoy themselves on the beach down there at Henley.
So there's a website, and it's accessiblebeaches.com, and if you click on the directory, you can see where your local accessible beach is. So that's to all support workers, all families and wheelchair users. And don't forget your hat, don't forget your sun cream, and get yourselves down to a local accessible beach. Okay, so next is obviously the hottest topic in the last 2 years, which is obviously COVID. How we can access rat tests in particular, or rats as they like to call them. And there's been an announcement this week from the 24th of January that eligible NDIS participants can purchase rapid antigen tests, or RATs, with funding from their NDIS plan. Participants can use their core funding to purchase RATs where it is required to access their reasonable and necessary support, ensuring that keeping everybody safe, including the workers or any support that's around you, that you can have access to these tests that are really, really quick, relatively easy to use. I've done a couple already, and they're pretty simple. They're not that intrusive. I know that the PCR test can be a little bit scratchy brain kind of stuff, but this is just around the nose and then test. Really important that everybody is keeping themselves safe, whether it's the participant themselves, the workers or family members, etc. So if you are an NDIS participant, you can claim the RATs using your core funding, where it's required to continue to access your reasonable and necessary disability related support. There's a couple of questions on the website from the NDIS, and you know, please go and check that on the ndis.gov.au. There's questions on there, things like, do I need to request a plan review? You can use your existing core funding in your NDIS plan to purchase the test. You do not need to request a plan review. Can I claim a test for my support worker? If your support workers need to undergo the test to ensure they can safely deliver your supports, you may also purchase a test for them in line with the guidance from the Australian Health Protection Principle Committee. So again, it's just about keeping yourself safe and keeping the people that are trying to support you safe as well. So the NDIS again have been very flexible in its funding options to ensure that everybody can access that. And don't forget, if you have got a concession card as well, there are concessions for people who can go and get a test wherever available. While we're in the midst of this pandemic, Adelaide's doing really, really well. Sadly, we've lost people over this last epidemic here in South Australia, which is extremely sad news, and our condolences to the friends and family of everybody involved. But it does seem to be subsiding a little bit. We seem to be over the worst of it. However, in order to keep everybody safe, these tests are absolutely essential. So if you feel like you need these and it's reasonable and necessary to use them while you have your supports, then it's crucial that you can use your NDIS funding to do so. It's that time of year again where it's Adelaide Fringe, and we are happy to say that they are becoming more and more inclusive for people with living with a disability. They value in being inclusive and welcoming and experiencing the magic of the Fringe. And me personally, I absolutely love the Fringe. I love taking my family to the Fringe and seeing different shows, whether it's a family show or an evening out with my wife or out with friends as well. You know, it should be there for everybody. It's a fantastic event. It's a worldwide event, and it's a world-leading event that everybody should have access to. As the years have gone on, Adelaide Fringe has become more and more accessible, and this year they are proving themselves to be fantastic advocates for people with disability, including things like there's an access guide that you can get, which is a downloadable copy. You can get an audio copy. You can get just a text copy, and if you require any other format, there is a website, an email address as well that you can request. They've also got accessibility news on the website, booking information where you can do it online or you can do it at the box office, and don't forget there's their call center as well, and there's an accessibility booking line as well. Don't forget about the companion card. That's really important for all events. So anybody paying full price can take their support worker or support person with them to enjoy the Fringe, who can support them during a Fringe season. So get yourselves out there, no excuses. So yeah, there are some conditions with the companion card, so please check them out. And also there's a website, sa.companioncard.asn.au, which you can also look at. And there is extra support always available. So if you've ever been to the Fringe before, there's access to support volunteers who will be at the Bank SA Fringe Corner box office to assist you as well, and they're always really helpful, particularly when you sometimes go on a Saturday evening and it's extremely busy and it becomes a little bit overwhelming. They're great for just signposting you, getting you where you need to be. So also using access filters and key symbols will also be around, including wheelchair accessible toilets, any relaxed performances which might be really supportive for some of our guys in the community. Audio descriptions as well. Auslan interpreted events are also available. So they've really gone for the inclusive approach this year. And I would just like to play a quick sound bite from Heather, who's the person in charge of putting the Adelaide Fringe together, just to give you a little bit more information.
This year at Adelaide Fringe, we've taken further steps towards improving access at the festival. We're pleased to have granted almost $20,000 of funding to artists for Auslan interpreted or audio described shows. And a number of Adelaide Fringe artist grants have also been awarded to shows put on by artists living with a disability. The Access Guide will once again be offered in an audio described format. We have a new and improved widget on our website with more specific search filters to make booking a show that little bit easier. We are also creating alternate format and plain text versions of all public-facing documents, which you can find on our accessibility pages on the Fringe website. We're proud to be partnering again with Deaf Can Do and Guide Dogs SANT, and also welcoming new partners for 2022, Push Mobility, Autism SA, Access to Arts and Access Media. And we look forward to working with them to be able to create a more inclusive community across Fringe. We're working towards launching our Disability Inclusion Action Plan, and it will set out a multi-year plan that will see Fringe work with many partners, artists and venues to improve access across the festival. Adelaide Fringe understands that this has been a hard time for communities that are at higher risk, and we will continue to work on ways for these communities to be able to engage with and enjoy Adelaide Fringe in a safe and meaningful way. Whether you have an access requirement or someone you care for does, we hope you can get along to the 2022 Fringe, and the Fringe team is here to help you make the most of our festival.
A local artist, Oliver Mills, is also in town, and he's part of the Adelaide Fringe. Chalet, do you want to just tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, sure. Oliver is a 33-year-old local artist here. And yeah, he was actually commissioned to do the artwork for the label pin for last year's International Day of People with Disability, which is a pin that is being worn by thousands of people across the country since last year's event. And he is a very talented artist, and he wants to show that people like him, and with awesome support that he can do things like paint, publishing books, and have a YouTube channel, have goals. Well, Oliver's latest exhibition, Demolishing the Oats, is now on until the 22nd of March at the Centre for Creative Health, Royal Adelaide Hospital, and it showcases his artworks using acrylics and charcoal marks. It also includes the colourful artwork that was used for the design of just now at the International Day of People with Disability label pins. The exhibitions will be part of the upcoming Adelaide Fringe event, and so check it out.
Okay, so that concludes our very first ever Your Way Disability SA podcast. We want to thank you very much from myself, Paul, and Sally.
Thank you.
It's been great to try and do something new and bring something to the disability sector here in SA. If you like us, then please let us know so we can continue to do it. If you don't let us know. We'll just be ignorant and pretend that everybody does. Thank you to all the people who took the time to listen and subscribe to our socials if you can. It's Facebook, Instagram and YouTube for all the latest information at Your Way Disability SA. If you would like to share any stories or be a guest on our show, then please email us at info@yourwaydisabilitysa.com.au. And thank you again for listening, and we will see or hear you next time.
'Cause your way,